Let's make fermented habanero hot sauce. So it's summertime, and if you have your gardens popping, you already know peppers are in season. I actually had this random habanero bush come up from compost, so I did not plant this guy, but he's here, and I didn't want the habaneros to go to waste. Now, I do like spicy food, but what am I going to do with like 30 habaneros? That's why this year, to reduce food waste, I decided I'll try fermenting some hot sauce and give it a go. So I only use 5 habaneros in this recipe, along with some green and red peppers, carrots, shallots, garlic, and red onion. First, you want to use gloves. I know there's some hot pepper warriors out there who think they don't need no gloves. Honey, wear the gloves, okay? Especially if you're going to be handling multiple peppers, wear the gloves. You just want to core out the seeds and toss those into your compost. So this will probably be another couple of habanero bushes next year. You want to get a clean and sterilized mason jar and then put your peppers in first. That way they'll be least likely to float once you add everything on top of them. Next, I did the same thing to my green and red peppers, cored out the seeds, chopped them up, and then added those to the mason jar as well. Now, the key to fermentation, I think, is packing down your product. You want to make sure your veggies are packed in tight. You want to make sure that they're fully submerged and covered in liquid. It's almost like you're doing like a science experiment for a couple of days, because if you don't do it correctly, you could get sick, obviously. You could grow mold and, things like that, and you just don't want that. So you don't have to finely dice them, but you do want to pack them in. I've seen people use like a drink muddler to mash everything down, or like a mortar from a mortar and pestle. You can use that, or you can just use your hands, whatever. But yeah, just make sure everything's packed in tight. I think I meant to say pestle. It's the pestle that you use, not the mortar. But whatever, you get what I'm saying. This is going to be a 2-part video because I do have to let it sit for at least 7 days to ferment, and then I'll come back and show you how I liquefy the sauce, and then also add vinegar and all that to make it shelf stable. So yeah, I'll show you all that in a second video. While it's sitting for the 7 days, you do have to go in and burp it, which just means opening up the cap, and you'll see why, because there'll be bubbles and acid buildup and stuff like that going on, that if you don't burp it, it could explode the jar. So you don't want that. That's why I said it's kind of like doing a science experiment for a couple of days. It's crazy what all you can do with just salt and water. Once you chop up your peppers and pack them in first, you're going to want to build your jar. Now, I'm just doing a very basic and simple hot sauce recipe, but if you like, you can add mangoes, you can add pineapples, you can make it a little sweeter if you want, or you can make it more spicy and just, do different peppers. So do whatever you like. But once you're done dealing with the peppers, you can toss the gloves in the trash. I diced up the red onion next and layered that on, and then I followed that with garlic. I just roughly chopped the garlic. There's really no need to mince it. Now, there are like special weights you can buy to help weigh things down, but I figure, that's not necessary. If you pack it the right way, then you shouldn't really have an issue with too much flotation. Now, I added the carrots in last because they're the heaviest. I just roughly chopped them and then packed them on top. And this is where the packing comes in. So you just want to make sure you pack those vegetables in really good, really tight. Keep pushing it down, because when you think there's no more room, there's plenty of room. I was able to fit in all of my little carrot bits. Then you want to completely fill it with water. Make sure all of your bits are covered. There should be nothing sticking out of the water. Make sure it's all covered. You want to let it sit for like 5 minutes and then strain it. You don't have to pour everything out. You're just taking the water out. Next, I added 3 generous tablespoons of kosher salt to the water. And you want to use kosher salt or sea salt. You cannot use iodized salt for this recipe. I added the kosher salt to my water mixture, stirred it up, let it dissolve, and then added that water back into my mason jar. You want to make sure everything's completely submerged. It's very important. Now you can ferment this longer than a week. You can ferment it up to a month and sometimes longer, but you would have to re-add the water mixture into it as it evaporates. So you never want to let your vegetables get exposed. That can cause bacteria and other stuff to get into it, which of course can make you sick. So with that in mind, overall, this recipe is a 10 out of 10 easy. This is something that you can do if you do have excess peppers or other vegetables in your garden. So this is what it looks like. So come back for part 2.